My name is Ernst van Jaarsveld. I am a horticulturist as well as a botanist, and I work at Babylonstoren Farm. We're standing here in the new Fynbos Garden that were established in 2018. And around us, I've established 3 biomes. And the first one is Fynbos, here with all the beautiful struthiolas in flower. And then if you look behind me, you'll see a part of the Succulent Karoo with the beautiful quiver trees on top of the roof of this room. And on the right hand side, we have created a typical thicket garden from the Eastern Cape. Here in this Fynbos garden, we are looking at various Fynbos plants, but what is Fynbos? And if we look around us, this is a typical Fynbos plant with tiny, small, usually linear leaves. And these plants are marvelously adapted to long, dry summers and short, moist winters. So what's the advantage of winter rainfall is they can make so much more with the moisture because there's less evaporation. So the plants have got a short growth season and a long, dry resting season to which they are so well adapted. And if we use the best of the local Fynbos in our garden, we can really create a self-sustaining garden. But coming back, this plant is called the Juffrou by the Nacht, Gnidia squarosa. It's one of the Fynbos plants. It's in the Fymalaceae family, and the characteristic of this family, they've got very, very strong bark. So formerly, many of these plants were used to make rope, etc. If we look at some of the other plants around us, the Felicia, typical also of the Fynbos, is more herbaceous perennial plant, but this garden is basically for to emphasize the succulents within the Fynbos biome. So the other plants we planted simply as pioneers. So some of them will be phased out later, and in the end the succulent plants will become prominent. This area around us is part also of the greater Fynbos garden, but this portion of the garden is used mainly for plants from Namakwaland and the Richtersveld. And the vegetation of this region is known as Succulent Karoo. So most of these plants, as the name suggests, are succulent plants. So usually the Succulent Karoo has got long dry summers, short moist winters. These quiver tree plants belong to the tree aloe family, and their name is aloedendron, which pertains literally saying it's a tree aloe. And this particular species grows wild in Namibia as well as in the dry parts of the Western Cape, Northern Cape as well. They're very common in that part, and the indigenous people of South Africa, the San and the Khoi people, to them the tree was important because they used their side branches as quivers and to keep in their little poisonous arrows. So it's a very, very useful plant. The plant usually flowers during the period of May, and you can see the inflorescence starting to come out, and within a few weeks we will have the blossoms forming, and then they are pollinated by various types of bird species. The waterworm is a thick-set succulent plant. As you can see here, beautifully ornamental. It is usually deciduous as well. So in summers, it's got no leaves. Only leaves during the short rainy season. They belong to the stonecrop family and the genus Tylocodon, and it's the tallest and the biggest of them all, as they get up to 3 meters tall. Now we are here in the thicket garden within this larger or greater Fynbos garden, and all over the world each vegetation region are usually shaped by external factors. Just like Fynbos are shaped by fire, this vegetation that you see around us are usually shaped by large herbivores, from large to small, and these plants are marvelously adapted to disturbances, so they make fantastic garden plants. And in fact, most of them have been taken up in gardens worldwide and are great survivors. So you cannot go wrong planting thicket plants in your garden. So these Strelitzia plants, they usually grow in clusters. They are monocots and they've got an adventitious root system, fleshy roots, which make them very, very drought tolerant. So in the hottest part of the year, they will still look very, very well and flower well as well because of their extreme drought tolerance. A very variable plant, so you get from smaller to bigger plants, and many cultivars have been selected in cultivation. This beautiful blue part, hidden are the male parts. the stamens, and as the sunbird perches on this portion, the flower will fold open, feet would be exposed to the bird, or the pollen will stick to its feet, and as it flies to another flower, it will perch on the female part. The female portion is right stigma portion in front of the flower, and the plant will be pollinated. Pelargoniums, or geraniums as many people know them, are still today the world's most popular house and garden plant. And whenever you go to Europe, all their balconies, you'll see the beautiful pelargoniums, and it's all originally from South Africa. This is called Pelargonium inquinans, the red pelargonium. In Afrikaans, we call it the rooi malva. It's got beautiful blood red flowers, pollinated by beautiful different types of butterflies. Thank you for joining us on this virtual garden tour. I've showed you a few plants, but this is actually only the tip of the iceberg. South Africa sits with such a great diversity of indigenous plants we can all use in our gardens, great water-wise subjects. But please come and join us on one of our garden tours. There's a garden tour as well as a specialist tour when we open again.